steel in gears. It pulls you in and doesn't let go.
Okay, hello. Welcome back to the carousel. Oh, you disappeared. Now, what's up, man? We're here to talk about movies. Friday, good day to talk about movies. I'm here with Titus Techera. Oh, there he is. Who is a repeat guest. I will say the last episode we did together was one of my most liked episodes. Everybody loved that episode we did together because you have very fascinating points and very fascinating insights. And so welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be back, my man.
So you have some work that you're doing on Substack about the greatest movies. And this is a topic I'm endlessly curious about and love to talk about all the time. So you're doing the top 100 movies, which is a little bit of a response to the New York Times completely ridiculous version of this same thing that was, just pure stupidity and just total, political selections. So what is your list of 100 movies and how does it differ from the New York Times?
Yeah, I did it precisely to respond to that, and partly because I don't like to be just bickering. Yeah, the New York Times, these people are losers, just bitches out there picking hysterical stuff for clout. They think they want confrontation, but it turns out whenever they get confrontation, they're not ready for it. That's the sort of odd, prissy, aggressive, but fragile, brittle liberalism. But it's not enough to criticize it. You have to offer something better. And people on the right broadly or conservatives really don't have something better. They don't have that list of 100 movies or principles by which to form it or conversations, podcasts, writing to organize it, not the magazines, not anybody else. Obviously not the think tanks or the people who just pay for politics and really get what they're paying for. So I decided to do it. So I put it on my stack on PomoCon. I am now at 96 movies out of 100. I'm still mulling a few things over. And this has forced me to think on 10 years of working as a paid movie critic, but also to think about the broader things that happened to my generation. I'm 40. When I was a kid, major masters were still around, and we all thought that somehow new, interesting people were coming up all the time, from quirky people like Wes Anderson to stranger, tougher filmmaking. It's at that point when I was, in my early 20s, I guess it was somehow still conceivable that maybe superhero movie these movies aren't going to turn into cape shit. Because you had sometimes, interesting artists, or you had Christopher Nolan or Zack Snyder. These people were in control of the visual stuff. They were in control of what it meant to have objects in motion on a screen. And
dude, your thing is clicking a little bit. Your mic is like clicking. It's like click, 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 click.
Sorry, I don't know. It's not coming across on my end. Let me look a sec at my microphone setting here. No, it's on my MacBook Air.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, if I don't say anything, do you still hear it?
No, it's when you say something, there's like
But
slight
when I
click.
say this, it's clicking.
Yeah, we need somebody to tell us who's listening if you can hear it, because it doesn't matter if the people can't hear it at home. It doesn't matter, but
Yeah,
for some reason
yeah, of
it's like
course.
clicking
But
ever so
also, I can
slightly.
easily fetch my Yeti and see if that makes a difference somehow. I don't know.
Your
Let's try it
Yeti
out.
mic?
Yeah,
Okay.
get the Yeti.
Ah, there it is. There's the Yeti microphone. Okay, so you've got 96 out of 100. So you got 4 more. You only have
Yeah.
4 more picks to go.
Yeah, and these are just for the 21st century, and it means
yeah.
in a way, I can start with the bottom. At the bottom are there's movies by very old directors. One of them, one of the great European guy, died in 2016. His name is Andrzej Wajda. He was still making movies that year, but he was in his 90s. Others are just people don't realize how old Spielberg is, or how old Eastwood is out there making movies, but he's in his 90s. Woody
Yeah.
Allen made the French movie a year or so ago, but he's also in his 80s. So
Yeah.
these people did not do their best work in the 21st century, but they had some remarkable things. So,
Mhm.
but then there are also all of the young. Can you hear me, Isaac?
Yeah, but you probably have to switch. You have to switch the input, probably.
Yes, but I thought I had.
Yeah, it's like in the audio section there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and no clicking, so you're good.
Perfect. Okay. Sorry about the nonsense. And
No, it's not. It's probably not your fault. Restream's weird. When you're going live, it everything kind of gets janky. But okay, so
from all of these people who are very old down to people who are young, barely 40, let's say, like the Safdie brothers or Ari Aster, the Robert Eggers, this new generation of horror directors. In fact, there's a decade especially for the younger ones. But there are also, my introduction to what the great artists working from Europe to East Asia, but mostly Hollywood. So 70 out of 100 or so are American movies, but the rest are European and East Asian. Japan, but mostly Korea and China. And that's partly because now, as opposed to any other time in the previous century, there are more masters in the rest of the world than in Hollywood. If you looked at the world in the 30s, there were amazing directors everywhere you turned, but Hollywood had maybe the concentration, if not the majority, certainly the plurality. Of course, that also meant importing some of these people from Europe, but still, it counts. So and that meant that Hollywood that started great ended up by the 30s dominant worldwide. And now there's not that much left. You can't, there are artists, there are people who are working, doing interesting things, but they don't seem either to command the respect of people of taste, or to be able to impose themselves through the power of their cinema on, all of the bitchy people in publishing or on the critics. So, there's this air of death surrounding cinema. If you can't produce great talent, who is going to admire this? People in the industry and around know that it's been 10 years of men getting purged. It's harder to do that to a director. It's very easy to do that to writers, and the writer rooms have accordingly been turned to ideological diktat. It's and that makes it very difficult to come up with artists. There's Hollywood is a town run by producers, but it doesn't run on producers. What it runs on primarily is directors and secondarily writers, and that's because those are the artists. The people think about the stars are creations of the directors. John Ford made John Wayne. But the same thing you can say about the 21st century when, a couple of directors like who made Leo DiCaprio. primarily it was what's his face, Scorsese. Made 6 movies with him in about a dozen years, something like that. And so The Departed, Scorsese, DiCaprio, Matt Damon, that's on the list. That is a great movie.
Great movie.
Tough,
So
hard
good.
to watch, but it's a great movie. And there you see what it means for a director to turn these people into actors, to make something of them. It's not enough for you to like to look at them on a magazine cover. You have to associate them with a certain action, a certain line, a certain emotion. And it has to come across visually so that it's stuck with you potentially for life. Even before there are memes, there has to be cinema turns into memes as people circulate everything and try to reduce everything to humor. That image of power belongs to the directors and to some extent the writers. And you can see in a way how bad the situation is, because today the directors are the writers. It's again an age of writer-director, sort of like the 70s, because there's just much less left to work with. It's simply the machinery of movie making is incredibly decadent, not just the society. And so if you can write and direct your own movie, you might get a shot. If you depend on a more sophisticated system, because you can't write, for example, or you don't have enough of an eye for direction, and you'd have to trust at least one other guy, you're fucked. You might not be able to find one other man to trust. This is the state of the business now.
So in your list, I have to say, there is 2 glaring omissions that I can't believe any list of 100 movies would not have on. You have no Coppola and no Kubrick. You gotta have
The list of the
can't
21st
have.
century, and Coppola died in 99 before Eyes Wide Shut hit the screen.
It's my God, I'm such an idiot. Okay, yes, of course.
Just,
Well, wait. When was Eyes Wide Shut?
Coppola fucked himself over. It's not my fault. I
Yeah,
thought
well,
about
Coppola
maybe we should put
completely.
Megalopolis
Oh
on
yeah,
the
you're right.
list
Eyes Wide Shut
as
is
the guy.
99. 99 is Eyes Wide Shut.
But it's a great
Okay, yeah,
movie,
totally.
and
Totally.
very, very impressive movie.
Yeah.
If you're gonna die out making a movie, you could justify dying for that movie.
Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I just read this whole thing, and for some reason, obviously, we're talking about only from the year 2000, of course. And it's such slim pickings, as you indicate in your piece. The past 15 years, 10 at least, it's just all garbage, and it's so few and far between. So. What you're saying about talent is extremely interesting, and one thing that has always stuck with me is, how it's like you read so much crap and then like only 1 out of a million things sticks with you. One thing that has always stuck with me is the Hollywood Reporter published, 3 years ago or 4 years ago or something, a bunch of Elia Kazan's letters, and it was him talking about casting James Dean and Marlon Brando, and he goes into such incredible depth about why they're gonna be great actors and why like they have the potential to be great while others don't, and it's all about how screwed up they are, and like all about how like deeply disturbed they are, and it's like he's like, you have to have that deeply disturbed. There's something, he says, like there's something really wrong, like he keeps saying there's something really wrong with those guys in like a good way, and and he was totally right.
Normal people are somewhere out there, they have a home, and that's largely enough. They have more fun, all told, because they don't have these agonies. Why do you need people to love you so much?
Yeah.
But also, why do you care about beauty so much, right? The secret behind Hollywood is that beauty doesn't really count in American life. It's, like all of the pinups in the magazines or whatever might delude you, or men used to know how to dress in a suit. Maybe that could have deluded people once. But the truth is that, like Silicon Valley runs on the fact that nobody gives a shit about the computer kid, the chess club kid. And so he runs to Silicon Valley, burns his bridges, would rather sleep in a fucking RV than go back home because nobody cared about him there. So also with pretty girls in Hollywood and men of talent. you'd think it's very different. Why would you put yourself to this indignity when you have some talent or love of beauty? But it's because there's no other way. If you write, you have to drag your ass to New York. And if you write for the movies, you have to drag your ass to LA, and there's no alternative. And you have to take the shit for as long as it takes and do it with a smile so that people don't think you have an attitude. And that just feeds this drama further.
You know, both my parents were actors. My dad was an actor,
I didn't know that.
yeah, and my mother is a theater director. So, you know, they had that desire to be loved, you know, by the world. Which is part of the reason I've always been so disgusted by artists of all kinds, you know, because I saw it. Because what you never see, nobody ever tells the story of the failed actor. That never is told. You know, I think there was a great movie by the Coen brothers that was maybe the only movie that I've ever really seen to deal with this topic of the failed artist, which was Inside Llewyn Davis.
Oh, that one. Yeah, with the music, for
Yeah,
sure.
and he's good, but he's just not that good, you know, and he's not quite committed enough, and he's just gonna go away, you know, and nothing really ever happens, and that's 99.99999% of people who become actors, that's what happens, and you never hear, you know, and I saw it. I saw what that was like because I saw my dad go through it, and, you know, just the slow process of giving up, and, nobody ever talks about that, you know, you really never see that, displayed, you know, because we live in this apex fallacy world where, you know, everybody makes it, yeah, one day.
Bad news doesn't travel well.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have a positive attitude about it all. That's
Yeah.
but Sunset Boulevard is about a mediocre writer who's a washout.
Yeah. Oh, such a
Out
good
of his
movie.
apartment, his car is getting repoed, and he learns that he thinks, oh, he's so clever and so cool, but he's actually a slave to Hollywood, same as anybody else. Like the has-beens and the never was. That's right. That's the Sunset Boulevard. Very hard-hitting look at the thing, but that's the
I'm gonna
reality.
see if this helps. The thing is clicking again, but wait, yeah. So that's a great one. That's a great one, Sunset Boulevard. Okay, so wait, let's go through your list a little bit here. So we got you're doing it. Okay, so tell us the criteria for the top 100 movies of the 21st century.
Yeah, so I've tried to keep 4 principles in mind. One of them is it timely somehow? Does it evoke? Does it really speak to people in that period? But this is not something I have such a good feel for, so I'm not sure I was very good in that regard, because my mind runs to Sunset Boulevard, much less to something somebody did in 2012 that everybody was talking about. I probably at the time thought, fuck you. And so it's the other 3 principles that count. And 2 of them I think are fairly obvious: prestige and popularity. Prestige comes from awards, comes from critics, comes from people of taste. Like the last bastion of guys in America, like an open secret, used to be the IMDb top 250. Because you had to be kind of a striver male dude to really worry about like what are your ratings for all of these movies. You can see that way how all of the Nolan movies are up on top. They're in the top. There's all sorts of shit. I like presidency bias. People just like the latest thing. People like to like something popular, and now it looks like it's an international global top. That's bullshit. But this used to be done by Americans, by men, by young men who wanted their taste to count, at least in the aggregate. And so they went with Nolan, because Nolan gives you men, it gives you drama, he gives you technology, he gives you futurism, and he gives you this psychological complexity that speaks to you about your anger and your talking.
Yeah, about sort of a like darkness for normies, right? It's like he's kind of the perfect level of edgy, normie edgy, like you live long enough, you die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. It's like that level of like, oh, whoa, like I never thought about that before. Yeah. But no, I mean, Nolan's undeniably great. He's fine. I don't know. I'm not a massive Nolan
fan. He has been spending his career trying to save Hollywood, and these people pissed on him. Now that they think like maybe he's a liberal compared to the new Trump situation. For Oppenheimer, he got all of the Oscars he never got. But if Hollywood had given him the Oscars for Inception in 2010, then Hollywood could have taken another turn.
Yeah.
A lot of people working on these things, a lot of people are getting a message here. Men are not wrong to want these kinds of stories. Men will not be denied if they have the artistic drive to achieve this thing. Like, this guy will fuck himself over to get a new camera into a new position. Like, he'll film as much as he can on IMAX, try to give you a bigger screen, these crazy sound mixes that feel like maybe you should be at a rave party, not at the movies, if that's what you like. But on the other hand, he is trying to tell people, when you come to the movies, it will be astonishing. You're not going to get bored. It's not shit. Things have to meet a certain standard. So that's the sort of stuff that inspires people, as you can see with that talk. So even if it's not the critics, even if it's not popularity, you get a lot of money at the box office, you can still have access to taste through social media, whether it's IMDb or Twitter or Instagram or something. And then you can begin to grow an audience and show that you know people, what they want, what they hope, what they fear, better than they know themselves. And you can deliver it in a more beautiful, more interesting way than somebody else can. That's why you have to get your shot. And you have to have that level of ruthlessness as an artist to make it.
It absolutely. All right.
Important principles.
So I want to talk about I want to give people something to grasp onto here. So let's start the list. We're going to start the list. So in the beginning of the list, I'm already your first pick. I'm immediately disagreeing with you right out of the gate. So PTA, I'm a huge PTA fan. It should obviously be There Will Be Blood. You have Inherent Vice here. There Will Be Blood is so much better than Inherent Vice.
So one quick explanation: the 10, they're just arranged alphabetically. If I'm willing to get into any number of fights to say Anderson is better than Tarantino, or like I'll defend these Chinese directors, but it's just but it's another kind of conversation. Like, it's like you can see, it's like you look out the window, if you see the mountains, you can see the peaks, you can see the hills, you can tell the difference. Which is the highest peak? Like, we'll debate that. It's like, guys, so, we'll get drunk and we'll talk about it. But they're all up there.
Yeah, okay.
But I think Inherent Vice, I have a tendency to make contrarian picks. I think it's the best Anderson has actually done. I think
it's
vastly underrated as a movie, not just because he didn't get Oscar nominations or the stuff that has kept his career going, which is, like, thank the Oscars for that, fuck those people, but thank them for, like, these people get a career. Look, there's a new PTA movie coming out later this year, I think. I will be watching.
With Leo. So, it's the first time he's worked with, first time with Leo DiCaprio.
Yep,
which
exactly.
Yeah.
So although I'm looking forward to it, but I think this one deserved a lot more attention. It's sort of like The Big Lebowski. It's like a neo-noir. It's a stoner comedy. It's got this craziness going for it, but unlike The Big Lebowski, and much more than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inherent Vice shows how fucked up the hippies were. That these people were inviting crime or committing crime, that they were in on the con, that they were incredibly deluded, and that the kind of integrity you need to survive that kind of catastrophe that turned out to be the catastrophe of America, the 60s, is very, very rare. Like, the ultimate justification for this sort of stoner hippie comedy is that you have to be able, it's sort of like you have to be able to face a certain degree of madness. It's like learning to hold your liquor, because it's going to get so crazy for so long. If you get too indignant or too shocked by the immorality or rampant crime or the drugs or whatever, you're not going to make it. And so Inherent Vice was very much also, for that reason, a movie about 2014 and about our times now. That there are these like, you could learn a few things from, like, the hippies, Well, some of them. Like one of them is roll with the punches. Like don't lose your mind when things go crazy. The other one is be conspiratorial. Like now it's just that all of us on the right are that way. It used to be a kind of Thomas Pynchon, vaguely
Right.
lefty.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. That
now
used
it's
to be a
us.
lefty thing. Yeah.
Just
Somebody was
the
just
lesson,
saying,
enjoy the fun, and
yeah.
like don't lose your mind. Be
Well,
conspiratorial. Be humorous as well.
so in Eddington, this movie that just came out, the new Ari Aster movie, it's all about COVID, and the right side of the aisle in it is all conspiracy people. And the actors and actresses were interviewed, and they said to prepare for the role, all they did was look at 60s stuff. They looked at like 60s conspiracy stuff to embody the right-wing character today that's getting all into the conspiracies. So it's like that's kind of a huge acknowledgement that it's like, wow, the right really is the counterculture now, and the conspiratorial thing is part of it. But with Inherent Vice, so I'm a huge PTA guy. My Magnolia is on my top 10. I absolutely love that film. I mean, There Will Be Blood also should be, but Inherent Vice, and particularly his two latest movies, Licorice Pizza. Ugh. I don't know what happened to him. But what's really funny is this whole you know what I really think ruined Inherent Vice for me was Catherine Waterston. She is horrible. She is a genuinely the worst actress in Hollywood. At any movie she's in, she ruins instantly. She's just everything she says. She's a horrible actress. Like anything she says, she's just like, I'm making sad face. Like they really wanted like a girl. They needed a girl to be like girl next door hot kind of, and they were like, oh, that's it. It's gonna be her. But it was a totally wrong choice. Like she is really sucks. So
I don't think PTA has ever had particularly good taste with regard
with
to
women,
right?
yeah, it's true. He never has been.
Nolan
too
has
good
that problem too, right? It's not unexample.
Nolan really has that problem. Nolan is so bad. When he cast Anne Hathaway as as Catwoman, I was like, are you out of your mind? She's like the least Catwoman. Like I couldn't think of a worse Catwoman. And yeah, and also Maggie Gyllenhaal, like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah, he's terrible at casting women. And PTA does have that a little bit, except for Magnolia, of course, which Julianne Moore is so good in that. But this, as you just said, this is a genre. Big Lebowski, Inherent Vice, Licorice Pizza, Under the Silver Lake. It's the LA Odyssey film. It's the LA Odyssey. And I really think, because it's like, oh, we're going to this place where, it's like the going to the different things, trying to get home kind of thing. But I think the only people to ever do it was Lebowski. I think they were the ones who really pulled it off. And others have tried, but they're not quite gotten there.
Yeah, it's sure. Like it's more masterly. That's true, but it doesn't have this political ambition. Inherent Vice does give you a deeper view of how people sink into this stuff, and it gets at the it's somewhat less comic. There's obviously a bit of violence in it, and you see how love of the beautiful could turn into something really, really horrible.
I'll have to rewatch it with that in mind.
Of what it means to fall in love with beauty. What point do you start making up stories so that you look away from the ugly stuff? And then so there's a transition that starts with like America is just a normal place. It's also middle class. I want to be special. And at the end of that transition, what you have is I'm just a leaf in the cosmic wind, like floating on heroin into non-being. Like put otherwise in musical terms, start out with Woodstock, you end up with fucking Nirvana and the heroin and swallowing the shotgun. That's how this dream goes.
That's how it ends. It ends with Nirvana. Yeah, I could see that.
It has this somewhat brutal realism, and it's not gratuitous. It's because it's trying to show you that a lot of these people had some kinds of hopes. A lot of these people thought that America is rich, you could afford a more beautiful life, you could be a little more about pleasure and a little less about Cold War hysteria, maybe. And instead, They all went on a trip, and the country has been doing it in waves ever since. And there's this notion that if you fantasize hard enough, maybe with pharmacological power, your fantasies can transform the world. Your fantasies could end the world. It's this strange power that California has over people, that there's always this weird combination of it's LA, it's the movies, but it's also the war tech, or it's California, it's glamour, but it's also AI, Silicon Valley. There's always this other hard, weird side to the soft, glamorous side.
Yeah, well, no better place to talk about this than with another movie on your list that's right here, which is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, of course. Or Mulholland Drive, also both LA films. I'm far prefer Mulholland Drive over Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. They were just shooting the sequel with the David Fincher sequel, which you also have on here.
I'm
up
sure
the
it's
street.
going to be good. I put it there.
Yeah, you put it there without having seen it, which is
not yet out.
Nobody.
This movie has not been made.
Yeah, but it's got a spot. But it's got a spot in it. Well, this is what's great about Fincher, is that Fincher is one of the very, very few great. He's not even an auteur, is he? Because he doesn't write his own stuff. But he's one of the few great directors who's okay being second fiddle. And it's great because I think his first couple movies, I think he did like Alien 3 and like maybe one of the Terminators or something. But anyway, yeah. So that's what's great about Fincher. And no, I'm sure this movie is going to be so good. But anyway, Once Upon a Time. What?
Tarantino and Fincher.
I know, it's like it's so great. Okay, so here's the first 10 on your list. You got Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, Coen Brothers, Lives of Others by the German guy. We've all seen that. Great. Lynch, Mulholland Drive on my top 10. Tree of Life, Malick, absolute masterpiece. Thin Red Line is on my top 10, but I should have done my
98.
top 10 of the 20s.
98.
Wait, right. It's 98, so it's just over the edge. Great Beauty, Sorrentino, great film. And that we have In the Mood for Love and Hero, the two Chinese movies, which I don't even want to talk about because I haven't seen them. I need to see them. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So isn't Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, though? It's a very good movie in a lot of ways. But isn't it kind of, the thing that drives me nuts about it is I really dislike this Tarantino revisionist history boomer slop trend. And to me, what he's been doing for the past X movies, he's killing the devils of the boomers. So he's killing Hitler, he's killing slave owners, and he's killing Manson. Because those guys are the three like demons of the boomers. So what do you think about this sort of revisionist history, and why does this make it on here?
I think that's basically right, and I am myself somewhat skeptical of it. I think there's more than a little irony to it, that Tarantino can see that these people are shitty liberals who like to yap the fucking mouth, but they've never done and never will do anything, and so he fulfills that fantasy ironically. Sure, like what are sweet, nice liberals? All of those feminine ideas of morality, like what do they amount to? You love brutality, you fucking asshole. Right? But also, like, there's like the people can't help but when they see like Hitler is this evil, super evil guy, but like in the movie, it's this actor Christoph Waltz that does a role, and like blowing up Hitler is not blowing up that guy actually. It's like you're not keeping your eye on the ball, so to speak.
Yeah,
and
sure.
And at the same time, people are fascinated with the Christoph Waltz guy. Like, you sneaky fucking liberals, you're all in love with this shit at some level.
I know, they love it.
Well,
deep
wow.
down so much.
Like he's trying to show that out there. Like, you like to say this, but what is behind this sentiment? What is behind this stupid opinion that people have heard so many times? They don't give a shit anymore. People just stop reacting.
Right, and that's
The
what you could
and
say.
that's sounds like he was like that was the last step before the younger generation, under 30 Americans, like 21st century Americans, this list era Americans, they don't give a shit.
Yeah.
All of those moral taboos have disappeared. Liberals have, we won too much. They won so hard that they could get the Quentin Tarantino fantasy, and nobody even thought this is slightly weird. Like, we totally deserve this. That's just the last step before oblivion. This wish fulfillment state. Nobody knows that history. Nobody gives a shit about World War II. Nobody gives a shit about, I don't know, like slavery 200 years ago or something. Who cares? That power was lost, partly because liberals are such, uppity, but also super silly people, just unserious. And I think to a large extent, he was doing that on purpose, showing that these people are not the nice people or the moral people they think they are, and they're not the clever people they think they are. Really want, this is what it looks like. They just can't admit it because they want to have it both ways. They have to have like all the power of moralism, but not take responsibility for any of the violence. They have to, like, no, I'm super sentimental, but nowhere brutal. But actually, that's what it is. It's like Portland, right? Super sentimentality. Everybody's going to be an angel, and they all turn into fucking beasts in 2020, and just burn down for months. What happened there? Maybe the dream of the 90s, is still alive.
Portland. Well, what I love about what you just said is wish.
Like Portland, yeah, that was like shows like what are these people really about? Just focus on it.
Well, and that's a very good interpretation, and it's a very good justification for these films. Because I've always been sort of repelled by them because I have interpreted them as, you put it perfectly, wish fulfillment. Like Wakanda. Right? Wakanda's the most hilarious thing in the world. And you have like, black people on Facebook being like, what about Wakanda? And it's like, yeah, it doesn't exist. And there's all Barbie Land. It's the same thing, right? Barbie Land from Barbie. It's basically girl Wakanda. It's this thing that they imagine could exist, should exist. It's wish fulfillment. And I feel that's, I've interpreted these Tarantino movies as another manifestation of that. But what I like about what you're saying is that maybe it's conscious. Maybe this is the point of what he's saying. Maybe he's saying, because basically it's the same death in Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, over the top flamethrower, machine gun, super death. It's the super death of the bad guy, right? And it's like maybe that's actually the point. They like that and I like that. I love that. But at the same time, you just said something really interesting, and I want to hear what you say about this. What do you mean that this wish fulfillment is the last stage before demise, or what? Like, what does that mean?
I mean, first of all, simply in terms of memory, right? Like liberals won so hard that nobody knows any history anymore. They deconstructed the history. The effectual truth of the deconstruction of history is not everybody repeats some bullshit Howard Zinn line or the repetition of Howard Zinn in some bullshit liberal movie like Good Will Hunting. What actually happens is everybody forgot. Nobody reads about those things anymore. Nobody cares about history. Liberals talk themselves into not just taking over the elite positions in the culture and education and so on, but stop teaching. They deconstructed, they criticized, and they forgot that you have to teach something before you get to criticize it. And this is part of the weird position in which Tarantino is.
Interesting.
You make Inglourious Bastards, you cannot start from the history or from living memory. All of that has been covered up by these fucking liberals for 8 years. What you start from is their smug bullshit attitude. Their desire to identify with the victims of the Nazis, but also from the position of superpower over the Nazis.
Yeah, right.
It's like you get all of the benefits of morality without any of the downside.
Yeah.
Because it's just a spectacle, like on screen.
Right.
It's all fake. You can tell because it works also perfectly. This used to be called the just so story. Everything works out just so. This is the liberal idea of reality.
And these
Just
movies are
pose it
just
and
so, yeah.
articulate it. It blows itself up, and in a way, all that is left is a piece of entertainment. Nobody cares. You need strong moral opinions that come from childhood, from home, from emotions that are attached to a teaching for you to believe, America is good, the Soviets, the Nazis, whoever are bad. Liberals fucked with that for so long that they undermined any basis for their own criticism, for their own smugness, but also just for any memory. Like, we're supposed to be grateful to the liberals because of something, I'm told. For fucking what? And so increasingly, the normie position, it's like, liberals, they give us all of the good things. Americans didn't fight for God and country in World War II. They fought for liberalism, for godless atheism. Like, at some point after the 60s, that became accepted. Like, if you had asked the veterans in the forces, like, probably God and country is why they did it, I would assume, But they didn't get to tell the story. The liberals got to tell the story, and we all ended up with that version of World War II, with that version of the international necessities afterwards. And this became gradually more hysterical, more feminine, because it's less attached to the facts, less attached to any notion. If you say some things, people might do some things. Like, there are actions and consequences. You had better be sure about what you're claiming, what you're willing to do, and all of that was lost. It just became increasing gloating and increasing hysteria, and so somehow they go together, which is maybe the weirdest aspect of it that you see nowadays with liberals losing culture war after culture war. They lose because they're brittle. They lose to Trump all the time because they're so brittle. They gloat and they get hysterical at the same time. Like, you can think of this as the stupid evil paradox. Trump could be evil, like fascism, Hitler, or he could be stupid, but not both, because nobody's afraid of stupid people.
Mm-hmm.
The stupid evil paradox has destroyed the liberals. They want to claim superiority over everybody, but also moral authority for standing up for the victims. But if moral victories are foreordained, if the arc of history bends towards justice or something, then you're for sure you're going to win. There's no moral merit in it since there is no risk. That's what you say is the theoretical side of it. The practical side is just like people realize these people achieve nothing. They can't come up with great art. They can't come up with great education, with a great narrative for American magazines or journals or whatever. You have to end up believing that Putin is Hitler. The problem is that Putin runs an aging country with a small GDP, and they're fighting pretty hard out there in Eastern Europe. But I spent a lot of time in Central Europe, not just in America. People just go on with life. Nobody cares. Nobody's scared. You can't sell hysteria anymore. The propaganda isn't there. Again, done enough cultural criticism to ask, like, where's the war propaganda? We nowadays even have war without war propaganda. This is pathetic. You say, okay, I'm on the other side of the issue. I'm happy with the way things are developing. I'm pro-Trump, super pro-Trump. But just as a question, like, where's the war propaganda? Where's the liberal effort to sell a narrative? These things no longer work. These people cannot summon the talent. They don't have the beliefs or the principles because they've never faced the difficulties. And they didn't because of that stupid evil paradox. They wanted to make sure so much that the youngest smartasses or the youngest, most conformist kids selected for higher positions are going to have an easy way. This is the correct answer with the correct intonation. This is what adults expect of you. This is how you do it to get ahead. Are you going to get ahead by conforming? Are you going to get ahead by transgressing in a conformist way? Either of the two paths, and they're both acceptable, right? You could be, writing for one of these magazines because you went to the right college, or you could be writing for one of them because you're a race hysteric, some black crazy lady like the one blowing up the reputation of the New Yorker now, like other crazy black ladies were blowing up the reputation of the New York Times, with the 1619 Project and so on and so forth. You have two paths.
Right.
Conform or transgress in a conformist way.
There needs to be a word. What's a word for transgressing in a conformist way? In my opinion, all of wokeness, it was merely transgressing in a conformist way, right? I mean, that's woke is over, in my opinion, now. But that period we had, which will always be known as the woke era,